The Drummer Boy of Shiloh, guided close read. The Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865 and led to the abolition of slavery in the United States. At the time, drummers, young boys from about 7 to 12 years old, marched with the armed soldiers into battle. I want to point out the irony in that the Hebrew word Shiloh means place of peace. Keep that in mind. The setting, or time and place, is especially important to understanding this story. Bradbury is telling us the story of a drummer boy on the night before the Battle of Shiloh in the Civil War. This two-day battle began on April 6, 1862, near southwestern Tennessee church from which the bloody clash takes its name. More than 23,000 soldiers died during those 2 days. At that time, it was the bloodiest battle in American history. Reread lines 1 through 13. Identify details that describe the setting. Pause while you think. The time is in the April night. The place is in a peach field near the Owl Creek, not far from the church at Shiloh. How might the details of the setting contribute to the theme? Pause while you think. They provide a stark contrast for what is about to become a battlefield. Authors use descriptions and language that appeals to the senses to create a mood, the feeling or atmosphere in a story. The mood, whether it's one of humor, sadness, or tension, is intended to evoke an emotional response from readers. Reread lines 24 through 39. Identify language that describes the mood in the camp the night before the battle. Pause while you think. Word choices such as whispering to itself in the dark, "I'll live through it," careless bones of the young men harvested by night, and strewn steel bones help create the mood of muffled tension and foreboding. When readers draw conclusions, they use story details and their own knowledge and experiences to figure out things that an author has not explicitly stated about characters and events in a story. Reread lines 40 and 41. Use what you've read so far and lines 40 and 41 to draw a conclusion about how the drummer boy feels at this point in the story. Pause while you think. Because he is awake and very alert to the sounds around him and is thinking about not having a rifle for protection, readers may conclude that he is scared. While some events in a historical fiction really happened, the author may also make up some events. Authors rely on research to make made-up events realistic and true to the time period in which they happened. Reread lines 72 through 81. What details make Joby think that the man talking to him is the general? Pause while you think. The man says, "I assume it is," when Joby asks him if he is the general. Also, the way the man smelled and the brass buttons of his uniform help Joby identify him. How does their dialogue propel the story's action? Pause while you think. Their encounter suggests that the general is also anxious about the upcoming battle. A person's words and actions can also impact a story's mood. Reread lines 82 through 94. The general says, "There's your cheek, fell right off the tree overhead." What do his words suggest and what mood do they help create? Pause while you think. The words suggest that Joby is too young to shave. His cheek is like peach fuzz. The general takes time to be kind to Joby, but his words suggest a feeling of frustration with his army's inexperience and youth. Notice the general's description of the young soldiers on both sides in lines 106 through 115. We're going to use those to draw some conclusions. Reread lines 106 through 115. Draw a conclusion about how the general feels about the upcoming battle. Pause while you think. He is dismayed that the soldiers on both sides are so young and thinks that they should train for 4 months before going into battle. He is probably saddened by his knowledge that many of the young soldiers will die in the battle. Authors sometimes use a symbol, a thing that stands for something beyond itself, to create mood in a story. Reread lines 125 through 129. What might the pile of leaves and twigs symbolize? Pause while you think. They may symbolize the guidance the general is seeking. Set a fire, the pile of leaves could help him see how best to conduct the battle and save as many soldiers as possible. How does this image impact the mood of the story? Pause while you think. It emphasizes the darkness and thus the uncertainty the general feels about the coming battle. The mood of a story may be affected by what the characters say, but also how they say it. Reread lines 141 through 157. How might Joby feel when the general says he is the heart of the army? Pause while you think. He might feel excited, important, and less scared. The general uses the words a sure, steady, ever faster rhythm to describe Joby's drumming. What mood does this speech create? Pause while you think. A mood of excitement and inspiration. The emotions that a symbol evokes in the reader affect the reader's sense of the story's mood. Reread lines 170 through 176. The general tells Joby, "You're the general of the army when the general's left behind." What will Joby and his drum symbolize during the battle? Pause while you think. Joby and the drum will be a symbol of the general's strength and inspiration. How do the general's words impact the mood at the end of the story? The mood is hopeful and heroic.